by two individuals identified as Dahiru and small white troops later searched the area and recovered one round of 7.62 millimeter special ammunition from the bag of the killed suspect. Nigerian Army has rescued 19 kidnapped residents and killed one bandit during a coordinated operation in Gidam Dogo, Buhari Area Council, Federal Capital Territory. This follows credible intelligence on the whereabouts of terrorists responsible for the recent abduction of residents from the Biazin area. A statement signed by Acting Assistant Director, Army Public Relations Olawuyi Itunuoluwa, the Army said troops of the 7th Guards Battalion Guards Brigade, in conjunction with Nigeria Police Force and local vigilantes, successfully rescued 19 kidnapped victims during a coordinated search and rescue operation. The statement said during the operation, troops made contact with the bandits, leading to a fight in which one of the criminals was killed, while others fled the scene with suspected gunshot wounds, while the commander of the Guards Brigade, Brigadier General Adebisi Onasanya, commended the troops and collaborating security agencies for their bravery and professionalism during the operation. He also reiterated that the brigade remains resolute and fully committed to safeguarding residents of the Federal Capital Territory and protecting Abuja as the nation's seat of power, while the Army concluded that troops would continue to dominate the general area to forestall further criminal activities and intensify operations with other security agencies to rid the territory and its environs of terrorism, kidnapping, and other criminal activities. Fire broke out early on Sunday morning at a gold processing area in Katsina State, destroying several shops and causing casualties. Eyewitnesses said the fire started while some people were still asleep and others were preparing to begin their daily work of washing and processing gold, and one person was injured, while the one body had been recovered as at the time of this report. The fire destroyed almost all of the shops that sells tools and materials used by thousands of young workers involved in gold processing in the area, and the items are used to process gold mined from the forest west of the town. Two people have been feared killed in renewed clashes between the Chobo and Bachaman communities in Adamawa State, Lamode local government area, confirming on Sunday, the Adamawa State Police Command spokesman, SP Suleiman Ngoroje, said the crisis erupted on Sunday night. He also said heavily armed policemen had been deployed to the area to restore order. This is coming after last year, Governor Amadu Fintiri invited the warring groups to the government house in Yola to broker peace, and just 3 days after a truce was reached, violence erupted again, claiming over 18 lives. The governor lifted a curfew in Lamode last month, believing that stability had returned. Bauchi State Police Command has arrested a 48-year-old man, Abala Mato, for allegedly sexually assaulting a 15-year-old boy in Bura, Nengi local government area. The incident was reported on February 25, 2026 by Danalami Umar, a resident of Bakin, Kasuwa, Bura, and the victim was allegedly lured into a room by the suspect on February 17 at about 8 p.m. where the offense occurred. A statement posted on the command's Facebook page on Sunday, the police public relations officer SP Nafiu Habib said the suspect had been arrested and the victim taken to the hospital, Bura, for medical examination. In a separate incident, police arrested a 24-year-old security guard with Al Ansar Security Limited, Kamaluddin Aliyu, over the alleged rape of two minors, aged 4 and 5, and the case was reported on February 23rd at the B Divisional Police Headquarters by the children's mother, who alleged that the suspect lured the victims into a security room at Tosohon Company, where he had unlawful carnal knowledge of them on different occasions. Police said both the victims and the suspect were taken to the police clinic for medical examination, while the Commissioner of Police ordered the case transferred to the Sexual and Gender-Based Violence Unit for further investigation. The Commissioner of Police in the state, Sani Omolori Aliyu, assured residents that the command remains committed to protecting lives and property and warned criminal elements to desist from illegal activities. Suspected armed bandits disguised in women's hijabs attacked Malamawa Yari village in Gawakuki ward of Rabah local government area in Sokoto state on Saturday night, leaving several residents dead and others abducted. The incident was disclosed in a post shared on Sunday by security analyst Bakastin on X, and the bandits attacked the village at night and carried out a massive assault while they were dressed in women's hijabs, which allegedly helped them move around without raising suspicion. During the attack, several residents were killed while many others were abducted and taken to an unknown destination, adding that the situation has raised concerns among residents as attacks continue to occur in different communities across the state. Police Command in Jigawa has concluded arrangements for physical and credentials screening of applicants seeking recruitment from the state. The command spokesperson, SP Shisu Lawan, who disclosed this in a statement in Dose, said the screening would hold from March 9th to April 18 at the police state headquarters, Dose. The statement advised applicants to appear strictly on the date stated on their invitation slips, and the screening would continue until April 18 at the police state headquarters, to say. He said applicants must present their application, submission slip, physical screening form, invitation slip with table number and credentials screening form, and all the required documents include national identity number printout or card, O-level certificates and birth certificates or age declaration, as well as others. Lawan warned that candidates without the required documents, proper dress, or those arriving outside the scheduled dates would not participate, while State Commissioner of Police Dahiru Mohammed Lawan urged shortlisted applicants to remain orderly and follow the guidelines. You're watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network, where we'll be back after this break. Please stay with us. Welcome back. This is the Global News in Atlantic Television Network. Now to the rest of our stories. Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Benjamin Okezie Kalu, has dismissed the allegation of irregularities in the National Youth Service Corps NYSC discharge and his law school graduate certificate, saying that the mere existence of a petition does not amount to proof of wrongdoing, and it would be deeply irresponsible to attempt to convict any individual in the court of public opinion. This follows a briefing in Abuja by a group under the aegis of Coalition of Civil Society Groups of Good Governance, where they raised allegations concerning the Deputy Speaker's NYSC participation and his attendance at the Nigerian Law School, demanding that Kalu resigns his position with 72 hours. Reacting to the move, a statement by Chief Press Secretary to the Deputy Speaker, Mr. Levinus Nwabugiogu, said the allegations being circulated remain unproven claims arising from a petition that has neither been substantiated nor determined by any competent authority. Nwabugiogu said the coalition's attempts to present speculation as established fact is therefore premature, misleading, and inconsistent with the principles of fairness and due process, which civil society organizations themselves claim to defend, insisting that the Deputy Speaker, Benjamin Kalu, remains a duly qualified legal practitioner and a respected public servant whose professional credentials have been examined at multiple stages of his career. The statement further said Kalu was called to the Nigerian bar in September 2011 and subsequently enrolled as legal practitioner of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, a process governed by the Council of Legal Education and the Nigerian Law School with rigorous verification of academic and statutory requirements. Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, has called for greater empowerment of women and girls, describing it as a strategic investment in the nation's future. In a message to mark International Women's Day 2026 on Sunday, Mrs. Tinubu joined Nigerians and the global community in celebrating the achievements and contributions of women across the country. Mrs. Tinubu also extended her good wishes to women nationwide in celebration of the day. Supporting the national call, Ondo State First Lady Shehu Ayedatiwa also urged women to continue uplifting one another and contributing positively to society, and highlighted the importance of mentorship, collaboration, and acts of support in creating opportunities for future generations. Ayedatiwa commended women in Ondo State for their resilience and contributions across all sectors, from homes and communities to workplaces, classrooms, farms, markets, and boardrooms, and also encouraged women to mentor and empower each other, stressing that such collaboration strengthens families, communities, and society as a whole. Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project have filed a lawsuit against the government of President Bola Tinubu at the ECOWAS Community Court of Justice over the government's alleged failure to withdraw unlawful mass phone tapping rules known as the Lawful Interception of Communications Regulations 2019. SERAP said LICRU 2019 is a regulation that authorizes telecom licenses to install technology for security agencies to monitor communications including voice data, text, email, and browsing for national security and to combat crime. A statement signed and released on Sunday by SERAP Deputy Director Kolawole Oluwadare said the suit followed allegations by former Kaduna State Governor Nasser El-Rufai that the phone conversation of the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu was intercepted. In the suit at the ECOWAS Community Court of Justice in Abuja, SERAP is seeking a declaration that the failure of the government to withdraw the interception of communications regulations is unlawful and a violation of Nigeria's international human rights obligations. The organization is also asking the court, I beg your pardon, to declare that the government's failure to withdraw the regulations constitutes an official endorsement of unlawful mass phone tapping rules, as the regulations are patently unlawful and violate the rule of law, democratic principles, and the rights to privacy, as well as an order directing and compelling the Nigerian government to immediately withdraw the interception of communications regulations and to commence a legislative process to ensure that any interception regulations are in conformity with Nigeria's international human rights obligations. Serap acknowledged the government's responsibility to address national security and organized crime, but argued that such measures must remain within constitutional and international human rights limits. Inspector General of Police Olatunji Desiu has approved the appointment of Deputy Commissioner of Police Anthony Placid as a new Force Public Relations Officer of the Nigeria Police Force, and Placid replaces the outgoing Force Public Relations Officer Benjamin Hundeyin. A statement issued on Sunday by Hundeyin, who signed as the outgoing spokesperson at the Force headquarters in Abuja, said Placid is a seasoned police officer with extensive experience in administration, operations, intelligence, training, and international peacekeeping. Born on December 2nd, 1970 in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, he hails from Mbiokporo Nsit in Nsit Ibom local government area of the state, and Placid holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Geography and Regional Planning from the University of Uyo and a Master of Arts in Law and Diplomacy from the University of Jos. He also studied law at the National Open University of Nigeria for a Bachelor of Laws degree and is also a member of the International Association of Chiefs of Police and a Commonwealth Human Rights trainer, as well as a trainer with the International Committee of the Red Cross on International Humanitarian Law. He is a graduate of the Senior Executive Course 47 of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, KORU, and was inducted as a member of the National Institute, MNI, on December 13, 2025, before his redeployment to Cross River State. Placid is married with children and enjoys listening to music and playing football, basketball, table tennis, and badminton. Inspector General of Police Olatunji Desiu has approved the appointment of Chief Superintendent of Police Ali Giwa as the Force New Media Officer. The former Force Public Relations Officer Benjamin Hundeyin confirmed the appointment in a post on X on Sunday, adding that the role is part of newly created New Media Office at the Force headquarters in Abuja, aimed at enhancing the police's digital communication strategy and improving public awareness of its operations. According to his professional profile, Giwa is a Chief Superintendent of Police in the Nigeria Police Force with over 15 years of service, with experience in law enforcement, public order management, cybercrime investigation, and cybersecurity. He is currently a cybersecurity specialist at the Nigeria Police Force National Cybercrime Center in Abuja, and have also served as police assistant to the Deputy Inspector General of Police in the Department of Logistics and Supply between September 2023 and December 2024. He previously worked as Public Relations Officer of the Nigeria Police Cooperative Multi-Purpose Society Limited and as Assistant Public Relations Officer at the Obalende Annex in Lagos, and also served as Deputy Police Public Relations Officer for the Lagos State Command. Over the years, he has held several operational roles, including crime officer, surveillance officer, and human rights officer across different police formations in Lagos, and the appointment comes shortly after the Inspector General approved the appointment of Deputy Commissioner of Police Anthony Placid as the new Force Public Relations Officer. Pan-Yoruba social-political group Afenifere has condemned the escalating wave of terrorist attacks in southwestern Nigeria, urging both federal and state authorities to intensify efforts to rescue the region from banditry. A statement by the National Publicity Secretary of Afenifere, Jari Ajayi highlighted the Yoruba people's alarm over the near-daily erosion of human life across multiple states and drew attention to the barbaric treatment of kidnapped victims, as well as merciless beatings and humiliations endured by abductees. Ajayi recounted multiple incidents across the region, including attacks on churches, police stations, homes, and highways in Ondo State, sacked communities in Kwara, killings of farmers and assaults on travelers along the Igbeti-Kisi Road in Oke-Ogun, Oyo State, including the gruesome kidnappings in Ekiti State, where victims were killed and their corpses were held for a ransom. He recounted a case in Edo State involving a kidnapped medical doctor and also commended President Bola Tinubu for his determination in advancing state police, citing his call on the National Assembly to expedite constitutional amendments for their immediate takeoff. The group commended Inspector General of Police Tunji Disu for inaugurating the committee to determine modalities for state police deployment. As Nigeria observes International Women's Day 2026, the African Democratic Congress ADC has urged women to take active roles in politics and leadership to help build a more inclusive nation. A statement on Sunday by Malam Bolaji Abdullahi, the party's national publicity secretary, said Nigerian women carry a disproportionate share of social-economic responsibilities but remain underrepresented in decision-making positions. The ADC highlighted that its National Working Committee is deliberately structured to include women, and the party is the only one in Nigeria whose constitution reserves 40% of all positions at every level for women. The party urged more women across the country to join its platform and contribute to shaping Nigeria's political and democratic future. 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has formally registered as a member of the African Democratic Congress in the party's ongoing membership registration and mobilization exercise, which commenced across the 21 local government areas of Anambra State on Saturday, March 7. Obi, who completed his registration at his hometown in Agulu in Anaucha local government area of Anambra State on Saturday, vowed to challenge the newly passed 2026 Electoral Act in court, alleging that it was deliberately designed to manipulate the outcome of the 2027 general elections. The presidential hopeful said the provisions of the new electoral law were designed in a manner to facilitate electoral manipulation, adding that the Independent National Electoral Commission has now assumed the process of political party election instead of focusing on conducting elections. The former Anambra governor told his supporters and members of the party that the Southeast region is working as a family for the purpose of the 2027 general elections, adding that no region is more Nigerian than the Southeast. 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has formally registered as two factions of the People's Democratic Party have expressed readiness to reconcile over the lingering leadership crisis rocking the party, even as both sides traded accusations over the course of the dispute. Both the factions, loyal to the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Wike, and Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde, said they were open to dialogue, and the development followed an advisory by the Court of Appeal in Ibadan, Oyo State, urging both sides to resolve their differences amicably in the interest of the party. The appellate court, led by Justice Biobele Georgewill, gave the advice during the hearing of an appeal filed by one of the factions and subsequently adjourned the case until March 11, and the court is expected to hear the two appeals seeking to set aside conflicting judgments earlier delivered by the Federal High Court Ibadan and the Oyo State High Court over the legitimacy of the party's Ibadan Convention. Both factions have since been laying claim to the leadership of the party while seeking recognition from the Independent National Electoral Commission. This is coming after the Wike-backed faction led by the National Caretaker Chairman Mohammed Abdulrahman had secured a judgment from the Federal High Court in Ibadan on November 25, 2025, nullifying the outcome of the PDP convention held on November 15 and 16, 2025, while the convention produced the Tanimu Turaki-led National Working Committee. However, in a separate judgment delivered on February 25, Justice Ladiran Akintola of the Oyo State High Court ruled that the convention complied with the provisions of the PDP Constitution and the Electoral Act, and the courts consequently affirmed Turaki as the duly elected national chairman of the party. African Democratic Congress has accused the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, of undermining Nigeria's ethical and democratic standards through his role in the passage of the Electoral Act 2026. A statement by its National Publicity Secretary, Bolaji Abdullahi, on Sunday. The party condemned provisions of the law that they were designed to protect dishonesty, weaken opposition parties, and erode public confidence in the nation's democracy. While speaking at the reception for President Tinubu's wife, Remi Tinubu, in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, Akpabio dismissed the opposition's objections to the Electoral Act 2026, insisting that he had acted correctly. In response, the ADC, the Senate President, should anticipate harsh judgment from history for his role in imposing the 2026 Electoral Act on Nigerians, particularly the provision that removes certificate forgery as a valid ground for challenging election results, a move that party says will remain a lasting legacy of the ruling party. The ADC also said the amended legislation did not only create a serious constitutional conflict, but also highlights the lengths to which a desperate political party would go to drag the country down to its level. And now to our business news. Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority says fluctuations in fuel pump prices are a direct result of market dynamics on the Nigeria's deregulated downstream petroleum sector. The authority's spokesperson, George Ene Ita, said this in Abuja on Sunday while reacting to the recent increase in pump prices linked to the ongoing Middle East crisis. While many motorists in Abuja have expressed concern and dissatisfaction over the recent hike in prices of premium motor spirit, commonly called fuel, which were previously sold between 875 and 818 naira per litre, Nigerians have raised concerns about the justification for the increase in pump prices and its implications for the country, while Ene Ita said the variations in pump prices across the country are not due to regulatory interference, but are driven by supply and demand forces within the market. He also said under a deregulated framework, petroleum product prices respond to prevailing market conditions, adding that the policy direction is aimed at allowing market forces to determine prices while encouraging competition, efficiency, and increased investments in Nigeria's downstream oil and gas sector. Nigeria has stated its readiness to lead African continental free area by creating a strong, viable, productive, and competitive economy by unlocking the productive potential of women-led enterprises at a larger scale by ensuring inclusion, access to capital markets, and other incentives. This was stated by ministers and other stakeholders at the colloquium in honor of women's role in the industry, trade, and investment, with the theme positioning Nigeria to lead intra-African trade in her keynote address. The Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, said, as Nigerians speak about industrialization and intra-African trade, it must confront the powerful truth of harnessing women's immense potentials and utilize them optimally, adding that the African Continental Free Trade Area is no longer a conceptual aspiration, while describing it as an operational architecture with $3.4 million market of 1.4 billion people, representing the largest free trade area in the world by a number of participating countries, adding that markets do not create prosperity, production does. She also said trade agreements do not industrialize nations, but competitive enterprises do, stressing that less than 5% of the women have formal governance systems, which affects the way they conduct their affairs in business governance. The minister said this is not a capability problem, but a structural design problem where we have mentorship without capital, finance without readiness, markets without compliance support. While in her address, the Minister of Women Affairs, Imam Suleiman Ibrahim, said Nigeria's economic transformation must be inclusive by ensuring that women who form a vital pillar of its productive economy are fully integrated into national and continental trade systems. In his opening remark, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Ambassador Noura Abba Rimi, stated that the African continent has adopted forward-looking frameworks through AFCFTA, including the Protocol on Digital Trade and the Protocol on Women and Youth in Trade, adding that the purpose is to ensure that the opportunities created by AFCFTA translate into tangible and equitable economic growth across the continent.
The Protocol on Women and Youth in Trade is designed to strengthen the participation of women and young entrepreneurs in African and trade by expanding access to markets, improving access to finance, and supporting the growth of women-owned and women-led businesses. The purpose is to ensure that the opportunities created by AFCFTA translate into tangible and equitable economic growth across the continent.
Women are central to Nigeria's economic life. They produce a large share of our food. They dominate many segments of informal commerce. They operate thousands of macro, small and medium-scale enterprises across the country, yet the structures of formal trade have not been always designed with them in mind. Ladies and gentlemen, women account for approximately 70% of Nigeria's agricultural workforce, yet they own less than 14% of agricultural land. They access less than 10% of formal agricultural credit, and they constitute a fraction of those registered in formal agricultural export schemes.
Nigeria's ability to lead intra-African trade will depend not only on policy frameworks and trade facilitation mechanisms, but on the empowerment of capable and visionary actors within the country. Women constitute a significant proportion of Nigeria's productive and entrepreneurial base, and expanding their opportunities within the value chain, manufacturing, commerce, and cross-border trade will significantly enhance national competitiveness.
Central Bank of Nigeria says Nigerians repaid about 1.33 trillion naira in personal loans within 1 year as outstanding household borrowing declined sharply between November 2024 and November 2025. The sharp decline in personal lending drove a broader contraction in consumer credit across the banking system. Further analysis of the report showed that total consumer credit outstanding fell from 4.42 trillion naira in November 2024 to 3.19 trillion naira in November 2025, signaling weaker household borrowing conditions. The Apex Bank attributed the decline to reduced activity in both personal and retail lending. Despite the decline, personal loans remain the largest component of consumer credit in the economy. The CBN said personal loans accounted for 62.38% of total consumer credit at 1.99 trillion naira, while retail loans represented 37.62%, valued at 1.20 trillion naira. While personal loan balances dropped, retail lending recorded a modest increase during the same period. Retail loans rose from 1.11 trillion naira in November 2024 to 1.20 trillion naira in November 2025, representing an increase of about 90 billion naira year on year. However, the rise in retail lending was not sufficient to offset the sharp decline in personal loans, resulting in the overall drop in consumer credit. Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) has raised alarm over what it described as questionable contracts estimated at about 20 billion naira. The Transmission Company of Nigeria (TCN) warning that the deals could further weaken the nation's power infrastructure if not urgently investigated. A petition addressed by the Minister of Power, the Labour Center, alleged that some officials within TCN were attempting to push through a series of emergency refurbishment contracts that may violate procurement processes and place additional financial strain on the power transmission company. The union also called for an immediate forensic audit of the contract and urged anti-graft agencies, including the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, and the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, to investigate what it described as possible large-scale procurement fraud. In a letter signed by its president, Joe Ajaero, the NLC warned that the situation posed a serious threat to the survival of the company and the stability of Nigeria's electricity transmission network, and a response from the management of the Transmission Company of Nigeria were ongoing at the time of filing this report. And now to international tidbits. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian has threatened more attacks on U.S. targets in the Middle East as the U.S. and Israel continue to escalate their military campaign against Iran. Pezeshkian gave the threat in a recorded video on Sunday, insisting that Iran will not bow easily to oppression. Meanwhile, Pezeshkian apologized to neighboring Arab countries over attacks on their soil. U.S. President Donald Trump says 2 aircraft carriers from Britain are not needed any longer to aid his war in the Middle East, his latest critic of London's stance. Trump posted the message shortly after attending the return of the first 6 U.S. service members killed in the Middle East war at Dover Air Force Base in the northeastern state of Delaware. British media reports said the Royal Navy is preparing the HMS Prince Wales, an aircraft carrier currently at Portsmouth in southern England, for possible deployment to the Middle East, but no financial decision has been made. Also, Trump said he did not want the Kurds to launch an offensive against Iran, and he would be all for an offensive by Iranian Kurdish fighters in support of the U.S.-Israeli war against the Islamic Republic. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we go, another look at the major stories. Deputy Governor urges women to enhance development. Army rescues 19 kidnapped victims in Abuja. Serap dragged federal government to ECOWAS court over phone tapping rules. NLC probe 20 billion naira contract in TCN. Poplio assures end of war in Middle East crisis. Osimhen advises Galatasaray against Liverpool. Actress, Sarah Martins apologizes for roadside cooking. I am Francis Neka. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on our YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, on Instagram at Atlantic TV Network. Remember, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Thank you for watching.
The board, management, and staff of Morrison Media Group presents the 2026 Anniversary Celebration Lecture of Morrison Media Group. Theme: Media's role in shaping social change, addressing inequities, and empowering voices. Chairman Alex Ndudi Enebele, FSM, President, Institute of Strategic Management of Nigeria, Chartered. Keynote speaker, Professor Armstrong Idachaba, Professor of Media and Broadcasting Communication. Panelist, Professor Chris Ochonogo, Immediate Past Head of Department, Journalism and Media Studies, University of Port Harcourt. Dr. Ijoma Tobosia, Secretary, NUJ, River State. Dr. Sarah Joe, University Orator and Associate Dean, Faculty of Communication and Media, River State University, Port Harcourt, Dr. Ibiere Koki, Ignatius Aju University of Education, Rumolomini, Port Harcourt. Chief host, Dr. Chinyere Igwe, Esquire, Chairman, Morrison Group. Date, Tuesday, 10th March 2026. Venue, Gate Place Hotel, Kilometer 5, East West Road, adjacent Obirikwere Flyover, Rumosi, Port Harcourt. Time, 10 a.m. For more information, please call Kainde